an historic moment indeed. Finland and Sweden both trying to be part of NATO. The green light has come at this moment for Helsinki.
That's right. It's a very symbolic moment. You know, it's the expansion of NATO. It's the united Europe standing together. But it also has the potential of being a turning point in the war, but also in the future of the alliance. It's not just one more country, and I'll explain why. But it does show a very critical moment, the potential for a very critical moment in the development of this war. It's a moment that most Finns didn't want, really, for the longest time. Until May of last year, they preferred to sort of walk the line between the relationship with Russia. It shares a long border with Russia and Europe, and it kept a neutral stance, and that all changed once Russia invaded Ukraine. I mean, suddenly Finland was in a much more vulnerable place, and it sparked this desire from 80% of the population suddenly to join NATO. So it's been a very, very rapid process. NATO now has 7 members on the Baltic Sea, and it's doubled its border with Russia. And of course, Russia is very angry about that.
Well, let's unpack exactly that, because Russia has made its view quite clear.
Right.
How does this all impact, Bianca, the so-called special operation, when we hear a development like what has just happened in the last few moments?
Well, Russia is saying it won't have any effect on that, but it says it's going to keep an eye on Finland, whatever an eye means. But keep in mind that this is exactly the opposite of what Russia wanted. What Russia wanted to stop NATO's expansion towards its borders, and now it's getting exactly that. So it is saying it's a provocation, it's warning, and it also says that whatever happens next, it's going to be NATO's fault. It's essentially using this as a possibility to point fingers and blame the West for escalating the war. Let's take a listen to what the defense minister said earlier.
NATO is taking a range of steps to increase the combat readiness of the joint armed forces. They are intensifying combat training and reconnaissance activities near the borders of Russia and Belarus. In the near future, Finland will become a member of the alliance. Of course, all this creates risks of a significant escalation of the conflict, but it will not affect the outcome of the special military operation.
So Russia is saying here it will not affect the outcome of the war, but it could signify a major escalation and pointing fingers again. And as I mentioned, it's not just another country. I mean, the border that Finland shares with Russia, and the symbolism of Finland and Sweden as well potentially joining. I mean, at this moment, Sweden's application is stuck because of Hungary and Turkey. Hungary hasn't really made clear why, what exactly its demands are, but Turkey is saying that Sweden hosts Kurdish militants, which it sees as terrorists, and that needs to be fixed. We know that Turkey has an election coming up, I believe already in May, and Erdogan might be holding off until then with that decision. It has some political power back home for him, but it does seem that, like for the majority of the NATO countries, that Sweden will be next. And again, they're bolstering the alliance and provoking Russia from the Russian standpoint, and just bolstering its defenses from NATO's standpoint.
Fascinating developments on this day, and as you say, will be interesting to see how Sweden has to wait, or how long it has to wait until those stumbling blocks are overcome. Senior correspondent Bianca Zanini, as always, appreciate your updates.